All right, let's talk about a skill that is an absolute game changer for any business analyst out there: data modeling. Now, I know it sounds super technical, right? But stick with me, because at its heart, it's really all about turning a big mess of information into a clear vision everyone can get behind. So, have you ever been in that meeting? You know the one. You're trying your best to explain how all the data in a system actually connects. You're talking customers and orders and inventory, and all you see are these blank, confused faces staring back at you. It just feels like a giant, tangled mess.
And honestly, this is the reality in so many places. On the left, you've got chaos. It's this crazy web of spreadsheets and databases that, let's be real, nobody fully understands. But on the right, that's where we want to be. That's clarity. A data model is literally the bridge that gets us from all that confusion to a clean, simple map of our information.
And this right here is the crucial point. Think of data modeling as a kind of universal translator. It's this visual language that shows how everything is stored and organized so that the business folks and the developers can finally speak the same language. And you know what that means? It means we can build things right the first time.
So, how do we actually build this shared understanding? Well, let's open up our toolkit. The first and probably the most fundamental tool we have is all about mapping out relationships. It's about seeing how all the different pieces of the business puzzle fit together. The go-to tool for this is the Entity Relationship Diagram, or ERD for short. The best way to think about it is like an architectural blueprint for your data. It points out the most important things in your business. Customers, products, orders, we call those entities, and it shows exactly how they're all linked up. Look at this super simple example. We've got a customer and an order. That line connecting them, that little line, is telling us there's a one-to-many relationship. It just means one customer can have a whole bunch of orders, but any single order belongs to only one customer. Simple, right? But that kind of basic logic is exactly what holds an entire database together.
Okay, so our second technique isn't so much about how data is structured, but about how it moves. We're talking about following the data's journey as it travels through a system.
And for this, we use what's called a data flow diagram, or DFD. So if the ERD we just saw is the blueprint of the house, the DFD is like the map of all the plumbing and the electrical wiring. It shows where data comes from, what the system does to it, and where it goes next. It's absolutely perfect for understanding business processes.
Let's use an online store as an example. So, a user, that's you, submits an order. That data flows to a system that processes your payment. Then that payment data flows into a database where the transaction gets stored. See? A DFD just makes that whole sequence visual and incredibly easy to follow. It helps you spot problems or bottlenecks in a heartbeat.
So we have diagrams for structure and diagrams for flow. Awesome. Our third technique is all about perspective. Because, you see, not all data models are the same. They actually exist at different levels of detail. It's kind of like using the zoom lens on a camera.
Let's break down how this works. First, you start way up high with the conceptual model. This is the big picture, the 10,000-foot view with just the main business concepts. Then, you zoom in a little to the logical model. This is where you add more structure and define all those relationships we talked about. As a business analyst, you're going to spend most of your time right here. And finally, there's the physical model. That's the super detailed technical blueprint that you hand off to the developers.
All right, this last tool in our kit is a special one, and it's incredibly useful when you're working on software projects. It is all about bridging that communication gap between what the business wants and what the technical team needs to build.
And for that, we have the UML class diagram. My favorite way to describe this is, it's like an ERD with superpowers. Seriously, it doesn't just show you the data, it also shows you what you can do with that data, the behaviors, the actions, which developers call methods.
So, for our customer, the attributes are the easy things, like their name and email. But the methods, those are the actions they can take, like update profile or place order. This is literally the language developers think in: objects, classes, actions. Using this makes your requirements crystal clear and ready for them to build.
Okay, so we've looked at all these tools and diagrams. But why? Why learn all of this? Well, because mastering these tools gives you, as a business analyst, a massive strategic advantage. It moves you from just being a requirements gatherer to being a true solutions designer. When you could really model data, you're not just a note-taker in a meeting anymore. You're an architect. You start spotting missing requirements before a single line of code gets written. You can clearly define how different systems are going to talk to each other. You make sure that when someone asks for a report, the data to actually build that report exists. It just makes you a more effective, more valuable, and more indispensable business analyst. And that's really the key takeaway from all of this. You don't have to become a database administrator or some hardcore engineer. It's about being data aware. It's about understanding the logic of the information that makes the whole business run.
So let's do a quick recap of the toolkit, shall we? We've got ERDs to show relationships, we've got DFDs to show movement, we have the 3 model levels to give us different zooms, different perspectives, and we have UML diagrams to connect data with what it can actually do. If you can get a handle on these, I promise you'll never feel lost in a data discussion again.
At the end of the day, a data model is so much more than just a diagram on a page. It's the blueprint for how information creates value for your company. It is the foundation that entire systems, reports, and big insights are built on. So the only question left is, now that you have the blueprint, what are you going to build?